Hi, I'm Erin Somerville at McCallum High School going over the Electoral College. So the big question is, what is the path to the White House? Now we're starting at the Electoral College, but that's not really the beginning of the path to the White House. The first thing you need to do is win the nomination. And that is a rather lengthy process as well. We have a long campaign season, and it really begins with just winning your party's nomination. So in order to win the nomination, you have to get enough delegates at the National Convention to formally nominate your candidacy. So what we're looking at is past that. You've won the nomination. You are either the Republican or the Democrat wanting to be president, and you have your party's backing. You have your party's nominee. So that is now where we're starting off, the Electoral College. This map you have in the corner, that's also in my classroom. We're going to reference that map a good amount. And this is ultimately where you want to live. When you win the office of the presidency, you get to be here at the White House. Okay, so some basics about the Electoral College. And this is not even a relevant map, but I wanted to show you that every time we're talking about winning the election, there will be a map that we're looking at. Red delineates Republican, blue delineates Democrat, and of course not everyone in Texas is a Republican, not everyone in California is a Democrat. But since the rules of the Electoral College allow for states to operate in a winner-take-all system, you'll see at election time a lot of maps on the news. Okay, so the very first basic to get your head around is that there is not one national election, but rather 51 elections for the president. The Electoral College describes our indirect way of electing the president. So every state holds its own election, and the District of Columbia, thanks to the 23rd Amendment, also gets to participate in the Electoral College. Before 1964, the District of Columbia was not participating in the Electoral College because it was not in a state, and the Electoral College was about electing the president from each state. So there's 51 elections that are all going to happen on that first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So election day is always on an early Tuesday, as long as it's not November 1st. Okay, so the map here, every state has a certain number of electoral votes. So the more populous states have more electoral votes. Grand total, there's 538 electoral votes. See, every state will have at least 3. And then the more populous states will have more than that. The number that is on every state is not totally random. It comes with the number of people in Congress from that state. But I don't have that written here because I don't want your takeaway to be that senators or representatives are the ones casting the vote. Just Texas has 36 representatives in the U.S. House of Representatives. It has 2 senators, so 36 plus 2 equals 38. So that's how we get the number. The number comes from our representation in Congress. However, it is not those representatives in Congress that are participating. In most of the states, all but 2, the states use a winner-take-all system, which just means the most votes wins. So, for example, in Texas, we all go vote across the state, and when you vote, it'll say, in 2012, Obama or Romney. You're technically actually just voting for the party. The names are there, but you're voting for either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. And if in an election in the state of Texas more people vote Republican, okay, so maybe 51% vote Republican, 49% vote Democrat, well then, according to the winner-take-all system, the Republicans won Texas, and they're going to get all 38 electoral votes. So what we need to do vocabulary-wise is know the difference between a popular vote and an electoral vote. So here's how it works. In Texas, the party that wins the popular vote meaning just the number of votes across the state, the party that wins the popular vote will win all 38 electoral votes. So whether or not the Republicans won with 51% of the vote or 90% of the vote, they're going to get 38 electoral votes. And let's say the Democrats got 48% of the vote. That's a huge chunk, but it is still not the most votes. And so they will get 0 of the electoral votes. Same thing happens in California, where maybe the Democrats get 60% of the popular vote. They win all 100% of the electoral votes, all 55 votes. So 48 out of 50 states do this. They do the winner-take-all system where if you win the popular vote in the state, you're awarded all the electoral votes. Now there's 538 votes. How many do you need to win? You need 270. That is the magic number. You can see also that there's a potentiality for a tie, that it could be 269 to 269. But you're going to need 270 to win. So in an election cycle, you're going to, as you get closer, you're going to see this map on the news. You're going to hear about this map on the news a whole lot because it's a matter of getting to the magic number of 270. That means you might not win a state. You can get lots of votes in the state, but you might not win the state, and you could still win the Electoral College. So as you can see, it doesn't matter just a straight popular vote across the country. The popular vote is within the state. So just to sort of check your understanding, pause this and see if you can fill in the blanks. Okay. We looked at the map more closely and in class, and you can do that on your own. So what I'd like you to do now is pause this, and I have the link, Electoral Dysfunction, down below, and I want you to watch that. It's a good video from CBS Sunday Morning. Mo Rocca does a little examination of the Electoral College. And then after you watch the video, come back to this and see if you can answer these questions on your own. Okay, so you should have watched the video. See if you can answer these questions on your own. Come see me if you have questions. We discussed that in class. Okay, so let's think about what all this information means about the Electoral College. So when you want to win a game, you want to come up with the best strategy. And the strategy has to take into account all the rules of the game. So the rules of the game in the Electoral College is that you need to win 270 electoral votes. And in most of the states, if you win the most votes across the state, you automatically get all the electoral votes. So how does this affect your game strategy? Well, first of all, you're going to be thinking about winning states, not people. Okay? And then you're going to be thinking about how to allot your resources. Because if you're a candidate, you only have so much time, you only have so much money, you only have so much appeal. And so you got to work with what you have to win. You know that it doesn't matter if you win by a landslide. If you win, then you're going to get all the electoral votes. There's no extra credit here. It kind of already is extra credit. So if you're in Texas and you're the Republican candidate, you will probably visit Texas a bit because it's a large state. However, you also might feel like you sort of have that in the back. And your view then is to just make sure that you keep it. You can keep Texas's vote going red. And then use your other, use time and money maybe in another state where it's going to be a closer race. Because it doesn't matter if you win 90% of the vote in Texas. It's the same as winning 51% of the vote. So you're going to focus on states. You're going to focus on large states. But then you're also going to look at particularly swing states. The ones where we can't exactly predict very well how the state will go. So what I mean here is Texas to a Republican is a safe state. California to a Democrat is a safe state, meaning that it's worth a lot of electoral votes, and you know that those states lean red and blue respectively. So make sure that you don't, disappoint your people in that state, but at the same time, use your resources to go to the swing states. So the two big swing states I want you to know, Ohio and Florida. I want you to note them because they have a lot of electoral votes. So they have a lot of power on the map, and they really can go red or blue. Sometimes you'll hear people call them a purple state, although we tend to use purple more when the state is in transition. So Ohio and Florida are really big states in how many electoral votes they have, and both the Republican and the Democrat have a chance. So you really want to win those states. And now I want you to think about sort of opportunity cost. If you don't win it, the other candidate wins it. So those are really big ones that you're going to notice candidates campaign in a lot once we've gotten through the primary season. So how does it feel to be a voter in Texas? Whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat, at least in the Electoral College, you might feel as though your vote doesn't matter so much. And that is quite logical. If you are a Democrat in Texas, you and 30 to 45% of the state might go out and vote Democrat. And you'll end up getting no electoral votes because we don't break them up. Okay, it's not like we take the 38 votes and give most of them to the Republican, but then give some to the Democrat. Because of the winner-take-all system, you might feel like your vote doesn't matter. And likewise, even Republicans in Texas might not feel so impassioned by the process because whether or not they vote, we could say Texas is safely a red state at this point. So you'll notice in the big states like California, Texas, New York, that voter turnout's actually lower. Whereas in the states that are more swing-like, you're going to have a higher voter turnout. And that has to do with that term political efficacy. If you feel like your vote matters, you're more likely to participate. So pause this, quiz yourself. Okay, so just to check your work here, because every state gets at least 3 electoral votes, small states are actually overrepresented, and large states are underrepresented. That might feel counterintuitive because when you look at them, you go, oh my goodness, California has 55. They do have 55, but if we went truly based on population, they should have more than 55, maybe even closer to 63, 65 electoral votes. But because we give small states automatically 3, regardless of the size of their population, that's going to skew the overall system. Despite that skewing, someone campaigning is still really going to go after the big states because it's a bigger bang for your buck. Politicians know that the path to the White House requires winning 270 electoral votes, so the presidential candidates focus on winning swing states, often ignoring the states where they poll well. Those would be your safer states. Okay, so we're gonna stop here, and there's another video to go with this.